Hey there, Mama. Welcome back to another episode of Teach Your Littles at Home. I'm Lauren Brainerd, and today we're going to talk about the 100th day of school. Celebrating this milestone is a wonderful way to reflect on how much your child has learned and grown over the course of this school year, all while having fun with activities centered all around the number 100. My goal for today's episode is to help you create a plan to celebrate the 100th day of school in your home. Hey there, Mama. I'm Lauren Brainerd, and this is Teach Your Littles at Home. I'm so excited you have tuned in as I share fun and hands-on activities you can use right away to help you play and learn with your little ones. So let's dive right into today's episode so you can make more memories than you ever dreamed of. You might be wondering, how do I even begin to start a 100th day celebration? What is this? What does it look like? So, to kick off your celebration, I highly recommend that you begin by dressing up like you are all 100 years old. Think the clothing that a 100-year-old would wear. What does their hair look like? Is it in a tight little bun? Are you going to dye it gray? Maybe wear a wig? You can put on glasses. You can put on shawls. You can wear suspenders for the boys, bow ties, use a cane. The sky really is the limit when it comes to dressing up like you're 100 years old. Once you have the proper attire on, it is time to really kick off the celebration. Start by talking with your child about what 100 days of learning means. This means that your child is now 100 days smarter than they were before. I love to talk with my kids about what we learned in the past 100 days and what was memorable to them. Was it a craft, a math activity, something they made with their hands? Was it a field trip? So much learning happened, and it's so fun to hear what they enjoyed the most and what their core memories are. I like to begin our first activity where we're seated at a table with a fine motor dot marker activity. So I created a 100 Days Smarter dot marker printable, and you can find this printable and all the other printables I'm going to share about in my 100 Days of School unit. This is available in my shop, and you can use the code 100days for 30% off anything you buy in that purchase as my way of saying thank you for listening every week. If you want to make your own dot marker printable, it's super simple. Just take a piece of paper, draw a huge 100 out of large block lettering, and then draw small dots inside each number. Your child can grab their favorite dot markers and fill in the numbers to create the number 100. This activity is so simple to set up, and it's a great way to start the day since they have this visual of the number 100. Next, let's dive into a 100th day sensory bin. This activity is going to combine sorting and counting, which are key skills for preschoolers to learn. So here's what you'll need. First, you're going to want to grab an empty bin and fill it with your favorite sensory bin filler. Then you're going to choose 10 different categories of small items. And what we're going to do is have your child grab these different items out of the sensory bin, and then they're going to sort them into different categories. So I drew out what are called 10 frames. So it's basically a big rectangle with 10 little boxes inside each one. There's 5 on the top and 5 on the bottom. You can grab this in my 100th day of school unit as well, using that link in the show notes. And then you're just going to want to go around your house, find about 12 of each category of items. So you're going to want 12 buttons, 12 cubes, 12 blocks, cereal pieces, candies, beads, little pom-pom balls, whatever you have on hand. But grab about 12 of each one. Then add them to that sensory bin that you already prepared and kind of mix it up with whatever the filler is. I chose black beans for ours, and then I added 12 of each item. And that way, when my kids go on a hunt to find 10 buttons, if one gets hidden and they can't find it, it's okay. There's 2 extra of every one that'll still be in the bin when they're finished. This is a great way to break it down when we're counting to 100 because our kids aren't necessarily ready to count to 100 yet, depending on your child. So this way, they're just counting 10 of each item, sorting it, and then once they've done all 10 categories of items, you'll be able to point out that they found 100 items. And they'll have a very concrete visual of what 100 of something looks like. No school celebration is ever complete in our home without adding in some fine motor activities. And the reason for this is because fine motor skills are one of the most essential skills that you can teach your child before kindergarten. Their hands are so full of tiny little muscles that they need to learn how to control and strengthen. So our 100th day celebration is the perfect time to incorporate activities that are going to strengthen these skills. If you need a refresher on what fine motor skills are, just go back and listen to episode 11 of this podcast, where I did a deep dive into what fine motor skills are, and it'll hopefully answer all of your questions. So I chose 3 activities for our celebration. The first one was the dot marker activity that we went over at the beginning of this episode. The second are lacing cards. So what I did is created 3 really big yellow stars, laminate them, and then hole punch around the edge of each star. And then your child can take a piece of yarn or a shoelace and lace through each one of the stars. Since we have 3 stars, I wrote a number 1 in the center of one of the stars and then the number 0 in the other 2 stars. And you'll want to start this activity with having your child actually place them in order so that they can see that when you're building the number 100, the 1 goes first, then the 0, then the next 0. Then they can work on lacing up all those cards, which is so great for their fine motor skills. Now, by this point in the celebration, your child is probably getting a bit hungry. So our 100th day cereal necklace is the perfect third fine motor activity to move on to. You'll need a box of colored cereal. Choose a cereal that's round with a hole in the middle that can be threaded onto a shoelace. Then help your child sort 10 groups of 10 cereal pieces by color. So 10 red, 10 green, 10 yellow, and so on, so that you have 100 total pieces of cereal. Then they'll get to thread on all 100 onto that piece of yarn or shoelace. One thing I'll mention is if you do use yarn, put a piece of tape rolled up on the end of it so they have a nice stiff end to thread their cereal onto. Once they have put on 100 pieces of cereal, tie it around their neck, and it totally reminds me of those candy necklaces that we grew up on that we would always have in our mouth. I don't know if you had those growing up, but we did. And these totally remind me of that. And it's just such a fun snack for our preschool age kids to get to kind of munch on as we take a little break from our celebration. I also planned out 3 math activities for our 100th day celebration that reinforce counting and number names and recognition of those numbers. So I created a color by number coloring page. And basically, it's a picture in the background with a bunch of different sections and lines drawn on top of it. And then I numbered each section from 1 to 9. Then kids will go through and color each section until they've colored the whole thing and they find the number 100 hidden in the background. This is a great no prep activity that is perfect for when you find yourself needing a short break to go get a load of laundry switched or to start prepping for the next meal, and your child can just sit independently and color. We are also doing a puzzle with the number 100. So draw the number 100, cut the puzzle into 10 pieces, and then they'll have to put each long strip in order. I wrote the numbers 1 to 10 on the bottom of each puzzle piece. So you have a 1, a 2, and by putting those numbers in order, they'll finish building the puzzle. I'm also doing a clothespin activity where my kids will have a set of 10 cards. And on each card, you'll have different objects. So one card has 1 star, one card has 2 kids on it, one card has 3 of another object. And then on the side of the card, there's 3 different numbers. And they'll just clip the clothespin onto the matching number that shows how many objects are on that card. If you want a visual of what this looks like, just click the link to my blog in the show notes. And I included a photo of these clothespin clip cards on my blog so you can see exactly what it looks like if you want to make one yourself. And this brings us to our very last activity. No celebration is complete without a craft. So we are creating a gumball machine filled with 100 gumballs. You can download the printable, or you can draw an empty gumball machine yourself. So think of a big circle on top with a small base on the bottom. And then I drew in 100 little circles, really small ones, think like the size of the end of a Q-tip, inside the gumball machine so that my kids can take a Q-tip and dab paint into each circle to make all the colored gumballs. We are currently working on the words inside and outside in vocabulary, so we'll be using a Q-tip to dot paint inside each circle in the gumball machine to represent the gumballs. The goal is to dot 100 gumballs, which provides another opportunity to practice counting. You can also add a layer of learning in by reviewing color names or creating patterns as you dot the different dots of paint into the circles. That's it for today's episode. Celebrating the 100th day of school at home is a wonderful way to celebrate the milestone of making it 100 days of learning at home with your child. From sensory bins to crafts and fine motor activities, there are just so many ways to make this day special while continuing to build the important skills that our kids need. If you're homeschooling and you have other friends who are also homeschooling, consider inviting them over for a group celebration. It's a fun way to build community and let all the kids celebrate together. If you're ready to start planning your own 100th day celebration, be sure to check out my 100th day preschool activities pack in my shop. And don't forget to use the code 100days for 30% off your entire purchase in my Etsy shop. I hope that this celebration is so much fun and completely stress-free for you. Thank you so much for joining me today on Teach Your Littles at Home. I can't wait to talk to you the next time where we'll explore even more ways to continue to make memories with your little ones at home. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Teach Your Littles at Home. I hope you are feeling so inspired to create a new activity to do right away with your little ones.
If you like listening to my mommy, will you please leave her a review?
Before you head off to plan the next activity, would you mind leaving me a quick review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you are listening from? This is the only way for me to know if you're finding my tips, activities, and advice helpful, and I get so excited reading each and every review. I hope this episode has left you feeling empowered to try something new with your kids this week. And if so, would you please hit the share button and share this episode with another one of your mama friends who also wants to create activities with her little ones. I can't wait to share even more fun activities with you on our next episode. Have a wonderful rest of your day playing and making memories with your little ones.